Hey there everybody, and welcome back to the Virtual Chef. My name is Joshua, and today I'm going to show you how to make some homemade cinnamon rolls. Now we're ready to get started. First thing we're going to work on is the filling for the cinnamon rolls, which obviously is going to include cinnamon and sugar. Starting out with about 1/4 cup of cinnamon. I've got 1½ cups of light brown sugar, a stick of butter. I've already started cubing it, but we can go ahead and finish that now. And this is softened just a bit because it's going to be blended in just a moment with the brown sugar and the cinnamon. Butterfingers. Take your butter, put it over to the bowl with the brown sugar. Make sure you get it all. Cinnamon. Now.
Oh, I'm not going to do the cinnamon challenge.
No cinnamon challenge today. I have a brain, folks. Sorry. We're going to be using a pastry blender or pastry cutter, depending on where you're from. These, you can typically find them at Walmart, and they're very useful to get in and break this stuff all together. So I'm going to start around the butter and just start pressing down on it. I'm just going to bring it around the bowl, pressing down and sort of stirring a bit at the same time. You'll see that the butter will do this. When that happens, I just kind of push it off back into the bowl. And the idea here is to cut the butter into the sugar so it's all kind of comes together into one grainy paste-like substance. And once we get that started, we'll switch over to using our hands to get it to the consistency we want. So just take the blender, scrape it along the sides of the bowl, bring it around, cutting all that butter into the sugar and cinnamon. Every now and then, just get all that excess off. Continue working it around. I want to keep doing this until I don't see any more pieces of butter in it, and then, like I said, we're going to switch to our hands to finish it up. Okay. Alright, so what I've done is I've blended it up with a pastry blender, then got my hands in here and basically just kneaded it around. And now I've got it to a consistency where I can actually form it into a solid ball. And what's going to happen with this is it's going to make it easy to spread over our rolled out dough here in just a bit. So let's just set this aside. I'm going to wash the cinnamon off my hands, and we'll come back and talk about the dough. So now let's talk about the dough just a bit. What I've got here is a half batch of prepared dough. This is the dough that came from my donut recipe. If you were to look at that video, you can see how to make the actual dough. But you can also use a prepared bread dough from Walmart or any grocery store that sells it. There's places that sell these frozen loaves of basically just dough. So with that, all you have to do is thaw it out, let it rise, and then you can go to this step and get straight to rolling it out. So now, taking my ball of dough, I'm going to put it out onto a floured work surface. Get my rolling pin, just a bit of flour on it. Now, start from the middle, rolling out in one direction at a time until we get this out to a fairly thin sheet that we can roll up. Unfortunately, I don't know the exact measurement, so for now let's go with approximately thin. We'll get the camera up on it to show you about how thick I'm rolling it out to here in just a moment.
Is this the same approximately thin as the donuts?
About the same thickness as the donut. So if you watch the donut video, this is the same dough, same process for rolling. I've got it just about where I want it right now. So you can sort of see how big that is. I'll put my finger up here just for comparison. Now, what we want to do from here is take our prepared filling, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it in the middle. I'm going to take a rubber scraper, just press it out into the dough. Try to get it as even as possible. As you can see, since we got this into a paste, it's very easily going across the dough. The beautiful thing about this is the butter is going to melt and bring some of the cinnamon sugar into the actual bread as it cooks, and it's going to form a really nice scoopy mess that's delicious on the inside. Okay. Try to get that a little bit closer to the edge. I think that's probably good right here. I don't want it gooping out too much when it cooks. So now, starting from side of the dough closest to you, grab it, and just begin rolling it. I like to try to roll it nice and tight. That way we've got lots of swirls once it's cut. When I get to the end, you can see that that's sort of squished in the middle, so I like to stretch it out just a bit so that it stays together when I roll it. Alright. Now, I'm going to take a dough scraper. You can just use a regular knife for this as well. I'm going to start out by cutting it right in the center. I don't know how many pieces I'm going to get out of this, but I know that I'm going to be cutting them about inch to an inch and a half in thickness. Repeat with the other log. Now, I have my 10 1/4 inch Lodge cast iron skillet. I've sprayed it with some cooking spray. And now, what you want to do is take your cinnamon rolls, starting from the center of the pan, put them together just like this. I like to keep them touching, that way the edges stay soft. And that also makes sure that when they rise up instead of out. You can already see those swirls from the way that we rolled it. This is going to be really nice when they come out. Right. So now, what I've done is I've got my oven preheated to 425 degrees. These, I'm using a homemade dough that's got an instant fast rise yeast, so I don't have to let them rise again right now. So these are actually ready to go into the oven, and they'll need to stay there for about 15 to 20 minutes. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but I always set a timer for 15, come back and check it and see how it's doing. So while we're waiting on those cinnamon rolls to finish up, let's work on the glaze for it. So right here I have about half a cup of water. Make sure you get the premium water. No, it's just regular tap water. I'm going to go ahead and get this up to a simmer. So all we have to do is just get the water hot, where it's simmering just a little bit, steaming a bit, and then I'm going to add in 1 cup of confectioner's sugar and about a teaspoon or so of vanilla. This doesn't take very long at all. We're just going to let the water get hot so the powdered sugar dissolves in it really good, and then it's also going to help it harden on just a bit to the cinnamon rolls when we add it. So I'm making a glaze here, and I kind of fibbed the amounts in the beginning. I had a half a cup of water to 1 cup of powdered sugar. That was way too watery. So what I ended up with here is actually more like half a cup of water to about 3 cups of powdered sugar. And you can actually adjust this on the fly like I had to do here to get it to a nice thick milky colored goopy glaze that's going to re-solidify when you put it onto the cinnamon roll. Okay, so let's take a look, see how we're doing. Alright. So now, my cinnamon stuff got everywhere, but that's okay. These are still going to be really good. I don't know if you can hear this or not. I bet you can. We usually get it up close. Can you hear the sizzle? If nothing else, you can see it. So, all we have to do now, take our glaze. I like to just start drizzling it all over the top. And honestly, this is an extremely messy dish. Once it comes out, trust me, you will appreciate the fact that it was messy to start with. Probably not going to use all this right now, but I'm going to reserve it for later use. Let this cool for a bit until it is no longer sizzling, and you can pick one up. And we'll come back and check on it at that point. Okay, so our cinnamon rolls are done. I've got me some coffee to get me started. Got one separated out for me, and me alone. Nobody else can touch this. I've got a fork because this is still scalding hot. I can't pick it up. Got some of my glaze here. Let's just give this a shot. I would call this successful. Got all that buttery cinnamon sugar in the middle of it. The bread itself is soft and flaky. I'm gonna throw it on the tablecloth. If my boss, Jim, if you see this, I'll clean it up. Don't worry about it. So you may have noticed this time we're in a slightly different setting. This is my workplace, the Monteagle Inn and Retreat Center on Monteagle Mountain in Tennessee. I'm going to do some of my videos here from now on. Some of them are at my house. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the cinnamon roll video. I hope you try it yourself and can get you some of this buttery, cinnamony goodness right here for your own self. But that's all we've got for now. If you want to support me on Patreon, that's patreon.com/thevirtualchef. See you next week.